I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Red and yellow, brown, black, and white. We're all precious in God's sight. Everybody is somebody. Stop the violence. Save the children. Stop bullying. Save the children.
Hold your head high. Stick your chest out. You can make it. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive. Keep hope alive.
In 1975, Reverend Jesse L. Jackson Sr. developed the education arm for Operation PUSH, called PUSH for Excellence. His goal was to demand better schooling and more opportunities for students. He wanted to motivate teens and show them that despite their present situations, they had value, that they could achieve great things, that they were somebodies.
I am somebody. I may be poor, but I am somebody.
Push Excel brought together a diverse coalition: parents, educators, activists, and churches. Together, they held influential leaders accountable. Their pressure led to the creation of better school systems, more supportive youth programs, and policy changes at local, state, and national levels.
Push for Excellence brought people together with a common goal: to provide more help and opportunities for young people looking to further their education and careers, including making decisions that ensure success.
Their strategy was successful back then in the 70s and still makes an impact today.
And we often say that it is not your aptitude, but your attitude.
Push Excel has to push children at every age in every school district. And then we have to have a multicultural platform.
I'm Rutherford, and I have been waiting to become a junior so that I could go on the HBCU tour. Every year for the past 24 years, Push Excel has sponsored tours for thousands of students to visit well over 70 historically Black colleges and universities, 30 different cultural sites, and 10 different major corporate sites.
I wasn't sure about going to college, but going to all these colleges, it just made me talking to them, open up my eyes, and now I really want to go to college now.
These tours expose students to institutions of higher learning and show them what's possible and how hope plus education will make a difference.
We pushing for excellence!
My name is Ryan Taylor. I'm a junior management and information systems major at the University of Alabama.
My name is Brielle Mitchell, and I'm a graduating senior honors business management major, political science minor at the illustrious Howard University.
I'm a current Cyrilla McSween New York Life Scholar.
And I received the Toyota Scholarship.
I wanted to express my gratitude to the Cyrilla McSween Foundation and New York Life for their support.
I first want to start out with giving a giant thank you to Toyota, not only for the scholarship, but also for all of the internship experience that came with it. It definitely helped open my mind to what my professional pathways could look like in the future.
Thank you to Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Jeanette Wilson,
the Rainbow Push Coalition, and then Push Excel for creating this foundation and this platform where partners like Toyota can give and continue to pour into the leaders of America.
This scholarship has been a game changer for me. It's empowered me to pursue my passion in management information systems and excel academically.
Science, math, engineering, and technology creates jobs. It is based on contracts, and it's how the world is sustained. You know, everybody talks about the climate and how the environment is being polluted. Well, this generation of young people and the next one have to solve those problems.
We've got young people competing in robotics, which is just so amazing when you see some of the work that they've done. We've got young people with our oratorical contest as young as 6 years old. So while we basically focus on the college bound, we're also interested in the pathways and the pipeline to college.
College has historically been the key to economic freedom for all Americans. Yet, a college degree is becoming less and less affordable for the average student in the United States.
Since Push Excel began its scholarship program,
They have awarded over $10 million to deserving students enrolled in colleges and universities across this country, and has made college possible for so many young people since it launched.
We are fully engaged in the process of making educational opportunities available to young, marginalized people.
Thank you, Push Excel, for being an organization that inspires us all, no matter our age or background, to keep moving forward.
To lift up voices needing to be heard.
And to open doors so the next generation can walk through them. That's why we gotta push.
For ourselves,
our peers, and our futures. Push for progress.
Push for access.
Push for opportunity.
Push for community.
Push for justice.
Push for equality.
Push for change.
Push for peace.
Push for excellence.
is Christiana Gray, and I am hyena happy, peacock proud, elephants elated, jackrabbit joyful, and zebra zealous to welcome you to the Martin Luther King Jr. Scholarship Breakfast. Now, I have a question for you. Are you excited for today? Now, let's welcome Danae Parker, one of our newest members of the Push Excel IJC oratorical family, and winner of last month's oratorical competition. Let's give it up for Danae Parker.
Thank you, Christiana. I would also like to acknowledge the director of our program, Mrs. Olivia Porter. I believe I speak for everyone, a part of the Push Excel IJC Oratorical Society, when I say thank you for investing in us. I'm confident that what you've imparted will last a lifetime. I'm so honored to be here back in the Apostolic Church of God, because when I was only 4 years old, I was baptized here, and it set my heart to follow Christ. It was also this church's youth drama ministry that gave me my first opportunities to speak in front of large audiences. However, today I'm here to talk about the incredible legacy of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and his impact on Black history. Our ancestors arrived in this country against their will. They endured unimaginable hardships and fought for their freedom. We owe a debt of gratitude to the trailblazers of our past who continued to carry the torch after Dr. King was tragically taken away from us. Leaders such as Reverend Jesse Jackson, Reverend Frederick Haynes, and the late bishop of this house, Dr. Arthur M. Brazier. But let us not forget about the people of today who continue to carry the torch, like our Vice President, Kamala Harris, Oprah Winfrey, and our forever First Lady, Michelle Obama. In honoring our past, we must also acknowledge the everyday contributions of individuals who make a difference in our lives. Our parents, our teachers, our community activists, they all play an essential role in shaping our present and our future. I understand the hurdles we still face, but I refuse to be defined by them. I will continue to embrace my heritage, celebrate our accomplishments, and push for even greater achievements. We are strong, resilient, and capable of anything we set our minds to. So let us continue to learn from our history, amplify the voices of our leaders, and make sure that every child, regardless of their skin color, can dream big and achieve their goals. Thank you all for joining me in celebrating Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Don't forget to take out those checkbooks, and let's keep striving for greatness together.
That was great. That is our future. Now, I have a question for all of you. What do you really know about Push? Do you know its history? Do you know its connection with Operation Breadbasket? Well, if you don't know, you're about to find out. Let's welcome the great Alexander and Christopher Smith and the outstanding Rutherford and Nelson Simmons, who will share with you the history of Push, Reverend Jesse Jackson, and Martin Luther King Jr.
Welcome. Many people today don't know the rich history of Operation Push. But did you know
that the Rainbow Push Coalition is a product of a social justice movement that was born out of Operation Breadbasket?
Did you know that Operation Breadbasket was founded by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr.? Its purpose was to combine theology and social justice in order to influence economic, education, and social policy in America.
Well, did you know that in 1966, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. appointed Reverend Jesse Jackson to serve as the first director of Operation Breadbasket in Chicago, Illinois?
Well, did you know that in 1971, Reverend Jackson turned Operation Breadbasket into Operation Push, which stands for People United to Save Humanity.
Now called People United to Serve Humanity. Did you know that Operation Push helped Jesse Jackson to support Black communities throughout the country?
Well, did you know that in 1984, Reverend Jackson launched the National Rainbow Coalition, which sought equal rights for all Americans? The National Rainbow Coalition demanded social programs, voting rights, and affirmative action for minority groups who were left out by Ronald Reagan's economic policies. So, what happened to Operation Push?
In 1996, Reverend Jackson merged the National Rainbow Coalition with Operation Push to form
the Rainbow Push Coalition, a social justice organization which advocates for civil rights, economic justice, and equality,
with a mission to protect, defend, and gain civil rights by leveling the economic and educational playing fields, to promote justice and peace for all. But did you know that Rainbow Push does not only work in the United States, but it works globally to alleviate poverty and to promote human rights in various parts of the world?
Did you know that Operation Push has been involved in promoting financial literacy through programs aimed at empowering individuals with the knowledge and the skills to make informed financial decisions? In addition, Rainbow Push has been active in pushing for increased diversity and inclusion in the tech industry, addressing issues related to hiring practices and representation of minorities in leadership positions. Don't forget that Push Excel is an affiliate of Operation Push. Push Excel has a STEM program aimed at encouraging minority students to pursue careers within these fields, fostering diversity in the tech industry.
And an oratorical society, a program that promotes effective communication and eloquent speech.
Thank you, Push Excel. Thank you, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., for your legacy, for your hard work, and your impact on human lives today. Thank you.
Thank you.
We all know and understand the accomplishments that Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. has done in his lifetime. We appreciate it and we will never forget. But now, as the next generation of medical, of inspirational, of amazing leaders, it is up to me and my generation to continue his legacy and never forget what he has done for us. Thank you.
That was fantastic. Rainbow Push reminds us that we ride on the backs of great people, such as Martin Luther King Jr., Reverend Jesse Jackson, the people, the parents, the teachers, administrators. Despite what society often tells African American youth, you all remind us that we are great, that we are phenomenal, that we are the future. Let's hear Bradley Holt recite I Am a Phenomenal Black Boy by Francesca Aldrin.
Black boy. Everything I do phenomenally, fearfully, and wonderfully made. I carry my light as my birthright, and I am not afraid to shine. I am my ancestors' wildest dream, full of power and magic. Isn't that fantastic? I am gifted. I am a phenomenal black boy who comes from kings and queens. And I honor my lineage. Call me royal. I am majestic. With pride, I carry my history. I am the hero of my own story. Phenomenal black boy. Yes, I am. I am a phenomenal black boy. I honor my mind, body, and soul. I live a life with love and light. Gratitude is my attitude. Like Rubino Bridges Hall, I walk with purpose, my head high and tall. Like Martin Luther King Jr., I too have a dream, big and rich as Africa. I am a phenomenal black boy. There's no limit to what I could do. And I won't settle for less. Like May Carroll Jemison, I too can travel to space. I am an innovator. I am a phenomenal black boy. My light shines like the sun. I am kind, happy, and so bright. Phenomenal black boy. Yes, I am. Thank you.
Push Excel's goal is to inspire students to strive for excellence in education in spite of personal, family, and community challenges that they might experience. How do we do this? By advocating for educational policies that guarantee equal funding for all students without regard to race or economic standing. By engaging parents, students, and teachers in pursuing high-quality education and striving for educational excellence at every level. And by forging partnerships with community-based and public sector stakeholders in education. Now, Push Excel is a national model program with the purpose of connecting principals, parents, popular personalities, and students in a bond and to support students at every level on the educational ladder. Now, we want you to become a member of the Rainbow Push Coalition and Push Excel. Your annual membership can help us to change policies that impact students, colleges, and universities all around the country. So step up and sign up today. Membership is only $35, and if you're a student or a senior, $15. Just go to our website, rainbowpush.org and push join to become a member or push donate to support the Push Excel program. You can also text the word Push Excel, that's PUSHEXCEL, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give us any amount that you feel comfortable giving or call us at 773-256-2775. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you. And remember to keep hope alive.
Good morning, it's a pleasure to be here. I'm fresh off a plane from Cuba, so this weather is visceral. Anyway, I just want to say thank you for Reverend Jackson, and it's an honor to be here to perform at this MLK breakfast. I want to say special thank you to Reverend Jackson for talking to me, because he supported me in a fight that I've been in for a few years. A few years ago in New York City, my son was attacked at a hotel because a lady blamed him for stealing her cell phone. And, my attorney, Benjamin Crump, called Rev, and he talked to us and he talked to my family. So I want to say a special thank you while I'm here in his presence. Anyway. And I know that it's amazing grace that we're all still here, that my son is still here, and that we're pushing forward, and I know that we will overcome. I know that.
Excited to get more people involved in Rainbow Push, supporting the programs of Push for Excellence and the Citizenship Education Fund. If you're interested in impacting public policies, if you believe in the scholarships that we give to thousands of students each and every year, you can become a policymaker by becoming a member of Rainbow Push right now. For an annual membership of $35, or if you're a student or senior, $15, you can help us make a difference in the lives of millions. How do you become a member? Visit our website at rainbowpush.org and press join. Or maybe you'd like to support us. You can text the word PUSH, that's PUSH, to 41444 on your cell phone, and you can give any amount you feel comfortable giving. You can also call us at 773-256-2775 or go to rainbowpush.org and push donate. Wherever you are, you can support us as we keep pushing for you.
Quickly, I rise today full of all of the glad tidings befitting such an august gathering of distinguished men and women on this day in this sub-zero frigid climate. It is absolutely a pleasure and an honor to be before you here today. I am grateful for the generosity you've extended to me and my father and our family. I thank you, Dad, for this invitation to speak at this event once again, and the larger moment in which we find ourselves. Because we cannot act as if the celebration of the birthday of Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. in 2024 is not happening amid the sound and fury of a nation becoming more and more at peace with the idea of tearing itself apart. Slowly but surely, the body politic of America seems to be at war with itself. And you know you're in trouble when a snake decides to bite its own tail. It is seemingly becoming more and more the case that the moral fabric of this nation is tearing apart at the seams. The threads that held us together are loosening at the hem of America's future. That is to say, the more ridiculous and anti-democratic America becomes, it is the black and brown and the marginalized people who will first and foremost suffer from the eradication of constitutional norms. A rain shower in the other America is now a hurricane mixed with a tornado right after a tsunami in our black community. We feel the effects of America's dysfunction more profoundly than anyone else because in most instances, we are the most vulnerable, the most exposed, the most over-policed and underprotected, the underinsured, the food insecure, the most likely to die during childbirth, the more likely to have an unwarranted interaction with law enforcement and the criminal justice system, the least likely to own a home, the least likely to have an investment portfolio, the least likely to have more than $600 in a savings account, the more likely to die from diabetes and high blood pressure, the more likely to be racially profiled. We're thinking of the words in the spirit of the Reverend Martin Luther King. He not only taught us about personal salvation, he expanded our minds to teach us about social salvation, not to look down, but to look up. He thought praying was moving your feet and moving the masses in a spirit of love. We are the least likely to be selected for high office and position. And when we do, white nationalists come along and make up illegitimate reasons to force us to resign after only being the president for 6 months. The point I'm trying to make is this, brothers and sisters. I know sometimes we get tired of having to always be charged with the task of hard work, of pushing America in the right direction. But because of our persistent vulnerabilities, the truth of the matter is we really don't have a choice. We love our children too much to sit around and let the craziness of Trumpism threaten the future that our children deserve. We love our elders and our ancestors too much to let what they fought and died to achieve end up on the ash heap of history. We love ourselves too much to let the governor of Florida get in the way and get away with trying to convince us that black history and black authors don't matter. In the words of my grandmother, the devil is a liar. Whether we like it or not, there is too much at stake for us to let this nation slide back into the bitter night of racial antipathy and degradation. Whether we like it or not, there are too many of us in this country for us to act as if what happens here is of no consequence to us. And whether we are willing to admit it or not, the blood, sweat, and tears of black people built this country, and we will refuse to allow our investment to come back without a return. In the words of Reverend Martin Luther King, we refuse to believe that the bank of justice is bankrupt. We refuse to believe that there are insufficient funds in the great vaults of opportunity of this nation. And we also must come back to this place to cash a check that will give us all of the freedoms that we demand and the riches and the securities right now. Martin Luther King was a realist, but there's a tradition that produced him that required him in the midst of that reality to maintain a capacity for dreaming, radical and ridiculous dreaming. My father, Reverend Jackson, reminds me that in 1963, although Reverend Martin Luther King magnified our scripture and our tradition and gave us beautiful words and moved the nation's heart and soul towards racial reconciliation, that same day, in August 28, 1963, from Texas all the way around to Maryland, there was only one African-American elected official in the entire South of America. On that day in 1963, if Reverend Martin Luther King went back to Tennessee, back to Georgia, back to Alabama, he had to go to the colored bathrooms. He had a revolutionary and life-changing dreaming capacity, the kind of dreaming that once a year makes a country hand over its attention and submit its customs to the solemn review of a Baptist preacher who was himself the grandson of enslaved Americans. The Martin Luther King National Holiday is a remarkable achievement that you helped pass, Dad. In so many ways, we take this holiday for granted. But based upon American history, this is the one holiday that should have never existed. The same country that put his grandparents in slavery did not magically and all of a sudden have a change of heart and want to give Reverend Martin Luther King a holiday. There was nothing inevitable about the creation of this holiday. It was John Conyers from Detroit in 1968 that first put forth the legislation for the King holiday. It took 15 years to get it to the Ronald Reagan's desk. And it wasn't that Reagan wanted it. The Republicans were against it in '83. The Democrats were against it. The president was against it. But it was the people of God. It was those in the faith community that rallied and marched. And it was Stevland Morris. You know him by Stevie Wonder, that came up with the song and changed the tune that we could rhythmically move to, said, "Happy birthday, Reverend Martin Luther King," and the bill was passed. We got involved as a community. And it should not surprise you that Republicans and some Democrats and Ronald Reagan did not want him to have this day. Why didn't they want him to have this day? What's special about it to me? Not that he's the first African American to have a day. That's not it. What's special to me about this day, as I live and travel between Washington, D.C., and I see the African American Museum, and I work in the Capitol, a building that was built in 1789 by Americans that had been enslaved black folks. As I see the great mall that used to be an auction block where African American bodies had been sold. As I see this day, and I see all the generals, and I see all the elected officials, and the governors, and the kings, and the presidents this is the only day that a minister has to be honored in the mall and across the nation and around the world from America. This is a day for ministers and the church community to be proud. A man that was nonviolent, that didn't have a gun and never thought to kill anyone. I'd like to draw your attention in closing. It comes from the 7th chapter of the book of Amos, when the prophet got up and told the truth about the king and those conspired against him, and went to the king and said, Amos is a problem. Amos, they said, is a rabble-rouser. They said Amos is a troublemaker. And the 10th verse of the 7th chapter of the book of Amos, it says, and the land cannot bear his words. And the land cannot bear his words. It's in the book of Amos. I summon this verse from the book of Amos because it most appropriately applies to the Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. That is to say, when he was alive, America could not bear his words. 2 months before the March on Washington, Reverend King came to the city of Detroit and made one of his most iconic speeches in Cobo Hall. Those of you who remember that speech and those of you who were there remember that much of that, what he said in August of '63, he had already said in Detroit that same year in June, as 25,000 people had gathered. That night, Reverend King said, the price that this nation must pay for the continued oppression and exploitation of the Negro or any other minority group is the price of its own destruction. For the hour is late, the clock of destiny is ticking out, and we must act now before it's too late. America didn't want to hear that from a Reverend Martin Luther King while he was alive. So it should not surprise us that this country has ended up with a tyrant as our former president. Trump just didn't magically appear. 60 years ago, King warned this nation not to allow itself to believe that wealth or military power is an indication of constitutional health. You can have money and still be sick. You can have bombs and still be morally bankrupt. You can have power and influence and still be politically insane. Just because you have technology and social media doesn't mean you've mastered the simple art of saying good morning and glad to see people every day. Without integrity, the Declaration of Independence is just words on a piece of paper. Without compassion and decency, the Constitution is a suggestion, but not a governing document by which we can live. And instead of listening to Reverend King, America acted as if the only thing it needed to do was to wrap itself in the flag, sing the national anthem, and take the nation back to somewhere it never was. When they said, make it great again, when was that? We've been in an idea in motion. It's like putting a Band-Aid on somebody that's suffering from cancer. Instead of going and let the nation having a national, moral, spiritual, democratic chemotherapy, the America flinched at the invitation to be better and consistently supported people like a Barry Goldwater, a person like Richard Nixon, a person like Ronald Reagan, and a person like Donald Trump. Because the land could not bear the words of a prophet that came through the African-American experience and culture. He told the truth to those in power. He told us, if you want to get the man off of your back, brothers and sisters, stand up and re-exercise your muscles and take them off of your back. It took us 345 years from 1619 to 1964 in order for America to pass a law in the Civil Rights Act to say that we can't be discriminated against because of the color of our skin, that women could not be discriminated against. Person that had an accent could not be discriminated against. It took 345 years, but look up, 60 years later, From 1964 to 2024, what has just happened? Now we've had affirmative action to get stricken, taken off the books. How can something, a program that's been modeled and been in place for less than 50 years, now be called unfair to the people that have had historical negative actions taken against them when all we've asked for is affirmative action to become included and no longer overlooked? We've always been qualified. And some people say, well, affirmative action should be over. That's enough time, ladies and gentlemen. How can something that's been broken for 400 years be fixed in 50 years? It makes no sense. We have to have a concerted effort about economic justice and economic inclusion. There's an attack on diversity that we have to be aware of. When they went after the president of Harvard, they said she plagiarized. Here, this institution, founded in 1636, now had its first African-American, if you will, president. And they said she plagiarized. Well, she graduated and got her PhD from Harvard. Harvard never said she plagiarized. Who is this impetulant child, billionaire man born on third base that thought he hit a triple, that has his largest investment in Chipotle, gonna tell us that this woman is unqualified and she's a function and a symptom of everything that's wrong with diversity, equity, and inclusion? You gotta be mad on King Day and wanna come out and fight for something. I'm gonna take my seat, but before I do, if Reagan had resisted the overt nudging of history, he would have turned back all the laws he could. And if America never decided to honor the legacy and life of the Reverend Martin Luther King, the most unique American visionary, I can tell you that every last one of us would still be here today. If you come out in this cold weather, I know you're committed to the Reverend Martin Luther King. Because even if this country was never wise enough to recognize the presence of greatness in its midst, we have suffered long enough to know a prophet when we see one. Black people have been through too much not to know what the real deal looks like. We know what real leadership sounds like. And we have come to this place at this hour on this day to bear witness to the fact that there was a man sent from God whose name was Reverend Martin Luther King Jr., and he died struggling to make this country as good as it's promised. This is why we're here. We didn't gather here because of a group of politicians finally decided that Martin Luther King was special. God skipped over all the powerful people in this country and put his vision for a new nation in the mind of a man who had no political power. He wasn't a ranking member. He didn't have a chairmanship. He had no portfolio of government. He wasn't a committee chair. He did not have a subcommittee. He did not go to law school. He went to divinity school and was touched by God to intricately understand the Constitution, its application, and its expectation for all of his people. It's not a holiday that came to us. We fought for it. It's courage that makes Reverend Martin Luther King unique. It's not a piece of legislation that we come here singularly for. We come here because we have a basket of needs that we have to demand. And I don't want us to go silent. It's the fact when he opened his mouth, you could hear the words from Reverend Martin Luther King, rumbling of eternity, echoing in the bass beat of his voice that makes us gather in this place and celebrate our brothers even if the rest of the world has tried to ignore him. We thank God for the words of Reverend Martin Luther King. I thank God for my father, Reverend Jackson, having met Reverend Martin Luther King. When my father was at the University of Chicago in seminary, on a full scholarship, And he met a man, Reverend Martin Luther King Jr. I've oftentimes asked my dad, why didn't you go to law school? He says, I thought about it. He says, but Dr. Samuel Proctor told me, go to seminary because law is a function of religion. God is the whole world. Law can only be in one country. My father was married, 3 children, full scholarship, couldn't get resources from his own parents. And here comes a man, just a few years older than him, that says, leave school. I can teach you more about theology in the next 6 months than you can learn there in the next 3 years. Follow me. I thank the Leak family who gave my mother and father shelter while he took his walk of faith. I thank the Evans family. They gave us food when my father had no funds. Reverend King taught us love, and we followed his voice. He taught us how to care about each other, and we followed his voice. From labor to civil rights, from reproductive justice to climate change, from wealth inequality to peace in the Middle East. There is work to be done, and we are the ones that have been entrusted with the responsibility of doing it. I've seen my father talk to President Saddam Hussein when the drums of war were raging. Had this nation listened to my father when they had hostages that were taken, and they called them human shields, what do we have? Just a Bible? No portfolio? Ask some people if they would donate, contribute, so that we could go over there. 400 people came back because my father sought reconciliation, not revenge. I was with him when he went to Fidel Castro to see him in Cuba, when they said they had people that were being unlawfully detained. And the United States had a no-talk policy with Castro. We sat down with Mr. Castro, and then my father took him to church. And President Castro said at that time he had thought about joining the ministry when he was young, but when the revolution started and the people were poor, the church turned its back on the poor. So that was the first time he had been back to church in 30 years. And the prisoners came back home with us because you sought reconciliation. I was with my father when we went to see President Hafez Assad. The United States had a downed fighter pilot over there, Lieutenant Robert Goodman, and the Secretary of Defense never asked about him coming home. President Hafez Assad greeted us, and we left with Lieutenant Robert J. Goodman. Seek reconciliation. Thank God for the words of Reverend Martin Luther King. Let us speak truth to power. Let us bear witness that this nation must be able to understand and feel the weight of his words.
We are sanctuary. We are a sanctuary.
When I think of Rainbow Push, I think of 2 words: social justice,
education advocacy,
political empowerment,
freedom and equality,
corporate partnership.
Stop the violence. Save the children.
Don't get in. Shut it down. If we don't get in, shut it down.
Political change,
inclusion, evolution, progress, justice.
Jesse Jackson.
Keep hope. Keep hope alive. Alive. Keep hope. Keep hope alive. Alive.
We want to be bridges to end these cultural gaps.
forward by hope, not backwards by fear.